wasn't what I meant to do. Hey, and welcome to Thursday night with Soaring Prophets, 9 p.m. I am so excited. We've been talking about this, I don't know, for months now, about how the wonderful Gisela from Brazil was going to join us. She, this very minute, is 2 hours ahead into the future in Brazil. And I'm so excited that not only is this our first guest that we're talking to in the future, but it is also the farthest away that we've ever spoken to someone, which is very exciting. So Dr. Giselle, I should say, I don't know why I'm just saying Giselle, that's not nice. I'm trying to learn how to say her name right, which I'm struggling with. But Dr. Gisela, she is a doctor that is very interesting. Once I heard about her, the first time I heard about her, I was very excited because doctors in our area tend to like look at your sore foot or look at whatever is wrong with you and they prescribe you medicine, or they try to get that quick fix. And from what I understand from Dr. Gisela and the little bit I know about her is that she looks at the whole body. She doesn't just examine that one spot. She looks at what you're eating, how you're feeling, your all around body. And I'm just so excited because that's the kind of medicine that I'm kind of interested in. It's kind of what we talk about on Soaring Prophets, that you can't just go for a goal. You have to solve all the problems. You have to solve your money, you have to solve your mind, your body, and your soul. All of that is linked together. And if you're not working on all of it, you're not going to get to head to your goals. And I think Dr. Gisela is really, she knows so much more about it than I do. But anyway, Dr. Gisela, if you could please explain to us what you do. I know that you've done family practice work, you've done some work with Harvard, you've done so many wonderful things, and it's such a wonderful, I'm so excited that you're with us.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. And you're right. Actually, it's exactly what I do. I don't look only to the disease and only to the person's problem. When I was in college, it bothered me actually, because every time we have a disease or we have to learn about something in the body or in the person that we have to treat, we didn't see the person in front of us. We just had to know how to treat this disease. And once we couldn't treat, like a hypertension or diabetes or whatever it is, we got to think there is something wrong in this body and with this person. And it's kind of, I couldn't get this feeling, these thoughts. I was always thinking that it was something else. It was something in their beliefs, something in their way of living, or something that happened before when they were children. I just wanted to know more about their history and more about their bodies, and why I can give someone the same medicine and it can be and do totally different things in different persons. Right. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly. Yeah, no, you're explaining it very well.
So first of all, hang on a second. We got to preface this. Dr. Morandi, you came on here tonight again. Thank you for joining us. And one of the first things you said is that, I'm a little worried about my English. And my exact words to you were, your English is a heck of a lot better than my Portuguese. So thank you. You're doing fantastic. I love it. The questions, that I think a lot of people are trying to understand is that when we talk about Western medicine, it sounds like you take a holistic approach with Western medicine as well as, would I be wrong in saying an Eastern type medicine as well, like a more holistic type approach?
It's a little bit like that. I started with the Eastern approach because I had this division in my body and also in my thoughts. We are always used to see the Western, very traditional and sedimental body, and we have this feeling that if I see the body an holistic way, then it's more like East. And nowadays we can see that it's not exactly like this. I don't do Chinese medicine, or I do a little bit of Ayurvedic medicine that is the Indian medicine. But now in Western medicine and in the United States and in Harvard and even here in Brazil, we can treat holistically, we can treat the whole body. And now I want to believe that there is also a Western medicine because there is a lot of scientific evidence about it right now. And this is what I do. Like when I say about mind body medicine, it's very scientific. And the mind body medicine, where we treat the person in an holistic way, this is also Western right now, you know. But you were right. Like before, we used to think that it was like the East medicine, and if I can see the whole body, it's only if I go to maybe China or India or somewhere else. I used to believe like that.
Right.
Right.
So now, doctor, do you find that obviously you're not a 60-year professional yet, but are you seeing that individuals are much more open to this sort of medical treatment now as opposed to individuals that you might run into 15, 20, 30 years in the business, that there is a difference in the way that we're practicing these days?
I believe so. I
Right.
strongly believe that because I used to work in the public system here in Brazil. It's very like traditional, and there are people from well all over, like all ages. So I can treat like 60 years old person or like a teenager,
Yeah.
and even the older one. They're open. They want to know more about themselves. And when I talk about emotional and how they can interfere in the treatment, they say, "Oh, I actually believe that, and I didn't know that there was like science behind it." And I say, "Yeah, now there is." So what I say and what I do is kind of instinct. Like everyone knows about it because everyone had feelings.
Right.
Everyone has sensations. So when you talk about it, everyone is a little bit open about it. It's not that I'm trying to do something miraculous. I don't know how to say that. Like something really weird.
Okay.
Well, I know in the schools and in the world, really, over where we live, there's this thing called mindfulness that everyone's into now, which is like being mindful of your body and your mind and all that stuff. But in my work, so I used to work with children with autism, and there, at one time, it was thought that you could use the same blanket approach with every child who has autism, but they were all different thinking, breathing human beings. And so it just makes sense that if you go into a medicine kind of viewpoint, that everyone is different. So just because I have diabetes and Pat has diabetes, we are like, I'm 50, he's 20 something, I think, baby. But you know, like I'm more physically fit than he is, and better looking. And
Yes.
so, and I have no, I'm just kidding. But no, like even my mental, like, so maybe I'm more depressed than he is. You know, I'm not as happy as he is. All of that stuff just makes sense to affect. Or maybe I eat chicken nuggets and French fries all day, and he eats like really fresh foods.
Mhm.
And I really do believe that that all affects it. I know that when I lost to what was it 156 pounds through keto, and I have like introduced keto to friends, and it's not effective with them at all. And part of that is because I think, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I think it's because my body just took to a high fat diet, whereas other bodies aren't designed for that way. So it would just make sense. So are you finding that too, that it's because of the chemistry inside the body, that the way it affects things, is that part of it as well?
It is, but it's
Yeah.
not only that. Like
Yeah.
when we say that a medicine or a treatment is different from person to person, it means that um, we have like the physical body, we have the emotional body, we have the energetic body, and we have our beliefs, we have our system. What do I mean when I say about system? Is like your family and also your society. So all this have influence in how the treatment is gonna get into your body. So if I take a headache pill and
Uh,
my mom take it and it's the same disease, it's gonna be different. Not only because the chemistry inside our bodies, but also because what I believe about this medicine and what kind of energetic path I am. Like there are people that needs to be very um, very protective. Like they don't feel easily. They don't it's very hard for them to feel easily because they had a lot of pain in their childhood or whatever. We don't know their history. So
Right.
for them, we need harder treatment. We need higher doses. We need different kind of medicine, and maybe a homeopathic medicine or low doses of phytotherapy, phytotherapy, like from herbs.
Okay.
Maybe for them, that's not gonna work in the beginning. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, but you still have to treat other I don't know this word, like other path, like other we have
Symptoms.
we have to treat the hardest part
Okay.
first, and then we go
Yeah.
subtle.
So the
Maybe
hardest
that's
symptom, I think, is what or the, so I don't know if that's what you're going for, but symptoms are like, if my ankle's sore, the symptom is swelling, pain, trouble walking, stuff like that. Those are the symptoms. So you go with the hardest symptom first, like would be the swelling, and that's what you attack first. Is that what you mean?
a little bit, but not exactly. I mean
Right.
that we, like everyone, has our body is not only our physical body.
Right.
So, but if I have a symptom in my physical and I'm not like subtle, I don't know, I don't want to feel it, I'm not ready to talk and
Right.
to feel my emotions, I'm not ready to talk about energy, I don't want to be aware of what's going on. So maybe we need something harder to treat you. Maybe we need a medicine that's gonna be like we're gonna need higher doses. And maybe for another person, if I give this person a meditation, it's going to work even and much better. So I don't believe there is one treatment that it's perfect for everyone. Like you said, it works for
Yeah.
you and it didn't work for your friends, because we are in different like
Unique individuals.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think what you're saying, and I'm not sure, I'm going to try and clarify here to what I'm understanding, is that,
Please.
I might have a different kind of tower in my brain. Like I've built walls inside of my being that blocks people out, including my doctors, my psychologists, my friends. I keep them on the outside so that when you come to try to help me, I'm keeping you on the outside. Whereas Pat here might be wide open because his family, he's loving, happy, go lucky kind of guy, and he shares everything. Is that kind
This
of what you
is
mean?
Seems like we've reversed roles slightly in this dialogue, but
Yeah.
well, I think like anything, obviously you have a situation where you're treating kind of what James's tagline tends to be is mind, body, and spirit, and mind,
Soul.
body, and soul.
Nice try.
Right? Well, no, I know the line. I'm just trying to pull it all together for everybody, right? So, doctor, when you're treating somebody, can you give us, an example of some of the cases that you've dealt with, and what that kind of treatment path looks like for somebody that is very open to the environment in which you're dealing with, and maybe somebody that's a little less, and how do you help them break down some of those walls?
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, let's talk about practice, because when you talk about theory, and you're
Right.
totally right. So let's take a diabetes patient. Like it's a physical one, right? We know what's going on in this body,
Right.
but for some reason, keep I keep giving him more insulin and more medicine, and I keep giving him, and for some reason it's not working. So I start asking himself questions that are very important, like in a systemic field. I got into the systemic field of him, like, or she. How is the family? How is dealing with sugar and the sweet things in his life? Like, how is he dealing with joy or hugs? Is it possible to hug? Is it possible for him to get a compliment? And so I start like asking emotional things and see if this person is open to talk about it. And then there is like two different paths that I give my patients. The first one is to see what is going on behind the disease. And this is totally possible with systemic family constellation. So I do this treatment that is a kind of therapy, and we can see what is behind the disease, what is behind the symptom.
Right.
And so talking to this patient, I can see if we can go in this path. Okay, let's see why the diabetes is there. It doesn't mean I'm gonna heal it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna cure it.
Right.
I'm gonna give the whole healing thing, but we're gonna bring to this patient consciousness about the disease. This is one way we can go, and we go sometimes, but it depends on which level the person is and how much the person wants to see about their disease. Because there is a lie when we say that we want to heal ourselves. The most part of person that has a disease, they actually don't want to see what is causing the disease, so they keep like treating
So
themselves.
how do you deal with that? Because that does, like, I have family members that are diabetic, and these are 100% diet related disorders. These health conditions have come on into their lives because they have not taken personal accountability for what they're putting into their body. And for years, like, it's not just, I ate that extra candy bar. It's years of maltreatment of their system. And why? Right? Is there trauma? What is there, in the history? So when you have somebody come to you, when you have, a great example is this diabetic patient. When you have somebody come to you and that is dealing with your practice, how do you get somebody to be like, okay, I'm going to break down these walls. I'm willing to do this with you? Because I feel like that would be tricky for a lot of people.
It is. And the most beautiful thing that I do in my practice is that I don't get into the consultations I don't want to break down these walls.
Right.
I want to be a part of it. I wanna show the person that there may have walls. Yeah. Can you see that? Because they don't see it. They don't know about walls. They don't know they are hurting themselves. So the compassion is like one of the most important thing in the consultation. And this can break the walls, even if I don't want that. Right. So once I see them, then there are like these tricky questions that I really just ask them because I'm curious about it, because I want to help this person. So I just say, okay, it's not good for you. Do you? And some of them are going to say, no, I don't. But no doctor told you that you shouldn't eat sugar. And some of them are going to say, oh, they told me, but I don't know. I didn't know that rice is sugar. I didn't know that bread is sugar. So some of them just don't know. They just don't have the information. And you have to start from the beginning. And this is beautiful because sometimes you just see that they don't have the information. But once they have the information and they still don't do what they have to do, then it's also exciting. And this is what I really love, because this part of the consultations, you're going to go farther. You're going to see what is their beliefs. And I had a patient, for example, that she knew what she had to do. And once I start digging, we say digging in one therapy that I do, we start digging what it had behind. We arrived in this pattern. Then she said, she told me, I get thinner and thinner, but once I start doing diets, I see my mom getting sad because I stopped eating her food, and I cannot handle that.
Right.
I feel so much guilty, and so I come back eating everything that I have stopped. And then how can I help this person that has diabetes, that is obese, there has a lot of different problems like cholesterol and triglycerides and everything? How can I help this person if I don't talk about guilty with her? So I have to talk about it. I have to talk that she's going to feel guilty, and how can I handle that? Because every kind of children feel guilty with their parents. And I go to the systemic field again. And in this part of the consultation, I may open the family constellation again, because the system is there in the consultation. And this is a
So
little bit what I do.
I think it's fantastic, and it's a very interesting. It's a very interesting change from what we have here in Canada, for instance.
I think it's very, like, I think culturally, like, I never thought of it in a cultural way, whereas, you know, where you're thinking about your mama and your mama makes food and she's going to be upset that you're not eating it. But you're absolutely right. Like, so my brother married into an Italian family. And if you didn't eat all the food on the plate, like the mom who worked all day got very angry with you, like very upset with you, and like kept on putting it on your plate because you're starving all the time. So yeah, no, I never really thought about that. But you're all, the other side of the coin is I didn't understand sugar until I got on keto. Like I knew pop had sugar and I knew sugar had sugar, but once I looked at rice and bread and noodles and like everything, like if you look at absolute everything, and then there's good sugars and bad sugars, and to really understand what sugar is, there's a lot of research that you have to do to understand it. So to say, did you not know you shouldn't have sugar? Well, yeah, no, I gave up sugar. I don't eat lollipops. I don't eat chocolate bars. Yeah, no, but you eat like a loaf of bread a day. Like you're eating all sugar, right? So I get that. Like it's funny that we sometimes think, well, isn't it easy to know that you don't eat sugar? And but you're saying that it's kind of different because some people know, I know, yeah, my doctor said don't eat sugar. I don't eat sugar. And then you find out, in fact, they are eating sugar, just different.
Yeah, and it goes for all kind of disease. So the first thing is like not judging the patient and not judging their process. And this is what it's used to have in college. You know, oh, this patient's not taking their pills. Oh, they're so stupid. They don't know they had to take their pills. This is what's gonna treat them. And I was like, no, why they don't take their pills? There is a reason. Let's dig in. Let's see why. So
How are you received in the medical community? Because I would imagine when, like, you yourself are a young professional, you've went into this, you've obviously done the work, you've become a doctor, and now you're in a situation in which, what do your peers say when you're like, we need to take a holistic view of this, versus here's your pill, next patient, please?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I had to treat that inside myself because in the beginning I was very divided. Like I was like, I have to choose one of them. I have to choose between medicine, between pills, and between meditation. And then I had to treat myself because I have to unite all this. And once I got to unite all this and to see that their kind of doctor are important, they're very important for those kind of patients. And there are those kind of patients that need this kind of doctor. So I don't fight with them anymore. I just see that they're also important because there is like the whole history. We didn't start a new age right now. Like there is all the process. So in this process, there are people that are still like needing this kind of doctor. And in the med school, I think I was seen as the alternative person. And so my friends used to say, oh, it's just Gisela being Gisela again. So they had this.
But that's a very interesting thing to hear, first of all, for someone that's, you know, it's not an easy path to become a doctor. So you go through this, you're learning all of the aspects that are regimented through your course structure, but it seems like you're adding on. It seems like you're adding an additional layer where probably a lot of your peers didn't.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And so where do you learn that? Like, how do you incorporate the other aspects that probably aren't found necessarily in textbooks? You have to reach outside of that.
Is it something you created personally, something you read about, something you drew upon from a mentor? Like, where did this come from?
So I think it came from this anxious about knowing more about their disease. I knew there was more. And also because I always loved the mind process. I always loved the mind process. When someone told me, I don't know, when I hear something, I think about their beliefs. I think about what is behind it. So automatically I did that with disease. I was always asking myself what there is behind the disease. And in second year of college, I started yoga and I started meditation, and I used to go to this retreat every month. And the monk was kind of my teacher and my master, and she was from Harvard, and she had the scientific evidence behind her, so she was always like giving me evidence and talking about it, and she wanted to be in college and to teach people about it. So I started with her, and she's called Susan Angels. It's very easy to find about her on the internet.
Yeah.
And then I started studying about it. So I went to Thetahealing, that is a kind of therapist that goes deep on the unconsciousness. And I started learning about unconsciousness, and I started learning about beliefs, and I could see how our beliefs interact in our body, and everything is about what we believe it is. And I could feel it, and I could see in the patients how it was true. When I realized there was a belief that there was a pattern, and I could change it, I could talk about it, I also start seeing that they get better. They started like changing their lives once they knew there was this limitant belief. And after that, I got into the meditation again, and I knew about this Harvard course, the mind body medicine course, and I did it. So it helped me a lot, not because there was a lot of things that I didn't know about, but because it gives me the scientific field to like um, empower. How do I say that? Like to feel uh,
Validated.
validated.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I went to the family constellation. I don't know if you have that in Canada, but the family constellation is, for me, it changed everything. It
Explain
really
it a little bit for us. We don't have.
I'm not sure. We don't have it called that, but we might have the similar. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so family constellation is one kind of therapy, but also is a path to be conscious about what is behind the symptom, behind a conflict, behind something that is going on in your life. It can be a disease. So I specialize myself in the disease and the medicine field, but it could be like a financial problem or a relationship problem or professional problem. It doesn't mean like there's something that you want to change or something that you see that there is a pattern in your life. So if it's a pattern, there is something behind it. There is a belief behind it, or there is a systemic belief that is sustaining it. And in the family constellation, there is a field that we can see what's going on. It's we say a morphogenetic field. It means that we can feel what is going on
Right.
in you and in your family and in your system, and the whole system is interacting with you. So if you have a problem now, like if you have diabetes or if you have a conflict with your partner, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe the whole system, your family system, is interacting with that and you don't even know. So with
Wow.
this therapy, we can see if there is something like
So I don't know that there's that kind of therapy. I know that, when we talk to counselors and psychologists, that's what they do. They kind of break it down, but they're not necessarily trying to help you with diabetes. They're specifically trying to help you with your mind. But I know when I went on my keto journey, which was to lose weight, I went on, I think it was 4 or 5 other diets that weren't successful. And the point of difference was that I went back in time and discovered why. Why do I have an obsession with eating? Because I had an eating addiction. That was my problem. I ate too much and I was addicted to eating. I liked eating. And part of it was all of my happy family memories were eating. Otherwise, like we didn't have a lot of money. So when we did something exciting, it always involved like food, eating. So eating made me happy. It really made me happy. And also my rewards from my parents were always food. It was always, let's go to McDonald's. You did so great. Or, let's go do this. You did so great. And I tie a lot to commercials too. Like when I was a kid, pop was always about parties, having fun, enjoying yourself, having a great time. Things were good as long as you were drinking pop or cereal or all that stuff, or chips. Chips are always associated with parties, and when you're a kid, you're very influenced by all that stuff. So I had to break all that down and really think about why I was eating. And so then when I had that temptation to eat, I would stop and go, okay, why do I want to eat? Do I want to eat because I'm hungry? Because if that's the case, then go eat. That's fine. But if I'm just eating because in this moment I need joy, I need happiness, then that's my problem. Now, is that what you're kind of talking about? You're breaking down the whys, like what psychologically, one aspect of it. I know it's multifaceted. It's not just this, but is that kind of like where you're going from?
Yeah. Exactly. Every kind of symptom, it can be an eating disorder, or it can be a diabetes, or every kind of symptom, there is a why. We don't try to figure the why. Like we don't try to why it is here, because when you say like why in this way, you may like reject the symptom, and this is not what we want. We just want to understand their language. Like for you, what is the eating disorder language? Oh, it's love. Yeah. It's like showing family or something. So what is the symptom is telling us? This is the why that you were saying. You were totally right. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. It's one part of my work, but this is the one that I love the most.
So in Brazil, when in your practice, in Canada, we have a publicly funded healthcare. Mm-hmm. What does that look like in Brazil?
Yeah, I used to work like for my 4 years graduated, like this 4 years work. I used to work in the public system. We call the let's translate it.
Again, your Portuguese is way better than my English, so you just
public, but
you know 2 languages. I only know 1.
Right. Perfect. Thank you, guys. You're amazing. So there's this public system that is universal, like it's for everyone. We have that, and I used to work on that.
Now, so in Canada, and we tend to be moving towards what the American system would kind of look like as like a 2-tier system, where you have like a public and then a private. That tends to be where we look like our healthcare system is going. We are more and more accessing technology in our healthcare, where we're able to see physicians, whether it be on apps, whether it be through the technology like you're seeing now, for sometimes a fee, right? Does Brazil have a similar type system, or is it 100% completely public? Because it sounds like there might be 2 as well.
Yeah, because here the public system is not well known. Like we judge it a lot, and there's a lot of line to get an exam, and the difficult surgeries are very difficult to have. So we try to improve it, but it's known to treat only like the poor people from Brazil, which are the most part of Brazil, but there is still this. So because of that, there is the private system that it's more and more known. And there is in the middle of it, there is this we called it social clinics here. It's getting like bigger and bigger here in Brazil, the social clinics that you pay for it. You have a doctor there, and it's cheaper than the private and the big one, but it's not public. So there is you have a feeling that, oh, it's better than public.
Right.
This is a problem, actually. This is a problem.
Why do you say it's a problem? What is your viewpoint on that? Because obviously you're saying now not just a 2-tier system, you're getting kind of a 3rd tier in there. So what is your viewpoint? Why? Obviously, you need something for the individuals that are impoverished in your community. Obviously, if you have the money and you're willing to pay for advanced care, that should be an option, I think, as well. but what is the middle, and why? What's your viewpoint on it?
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is that in some clinics, and it's a lot, um, you like the poor people, the vulnerable one, they think they're paying for something better than the public system, and they are like giving their monies. They don't have enough money, and they're like giving their monies because they think it's better than the public system. And sometimes it's not. And
Right.
also in the social clinic, the doctor has to work a lot, has to work like for 5 patients in 1 hour, what is the same thing from the public system. And he doesn't, like, the doctor don't get enough money for this time. So the treatment they give to their patients, it's sometimes even worse than the public system.
Right.
So I think it's they. I see like the vulnerable people. They want to have more than the system can give them, and this is all right. Like, this is their right. They have to look for better lives, but sometimes it's not true.
Well,
Right.
that's interesting because again, it sounds like these systems, the healthcare systems around the world, are falling into these sorts of disrepair. And I know through COVID, obviously that's obviously a hot button topic everywhere. But
Yeah.
through COVID, our systems were taxed to such a problematic thing. What did COVID look like in Brazil versus, you deal with individuals all over the world. I'm sure, in the medical profession, you're following people. What did you see in Brazil that was maybe different than we would see here in Canada or in other areas?
Yeah, I don't know much about the other countries. You can help me with that. But here in
Sure.
Brazil, uh, we we saw how important the public system was, like all the vaccine and all the treatment. Like, the hospitals were full, so the public system was like, it had to be there. Like,
Right.
it was the key. So a lot of people start like rethinking about that, like, oh my god, I was wrong about the public system. Oh my god, I
Right.
need the public system. But
Yeah.
still we couldn't handle we couldn't handle the whole thing. It was overwhelmed for us.
Yeah.
I saw my friends that getting like burning out all the time, and they couldn't handle anymore. And me myself, it was very hard to handle the everyone coming up, because then in the pandemic, the private system, it wasn't enough. So where everyone started going was the public system, and then they started like they need that. So
Right.
it was hard. It was very hard because there wasn't enough doctors, there wasn't enough supplies, enough structure,
Yeah.
but still it was the key of the whole thing. So
So
I
are we?
wanted, sorry, just
Go ahead.
let thing. I started thinking in the pandemic that somehow it would change a lot, because people started thinking and seeing how important it was, the public system. But I don't know if it happened. Actually, I don't think it happened.
Right. Well, it sounds like obviously in Brazil, those of you that have followed a little bit, we have commented on kind of the Brazilian political landscape of late. See, the face alone tells me that, it sounds like it's a bit of a nightmare down there right now. What does the Brazilian political realm look like currently, and how does a system that's so crucial to your people, as in healthcare, how is that being affected?
Yeah, it's been affected a lot.
Right.
So I see that I, well, so now I have to say that to confidence myself, like, maybe what I'm saying is just an opinion, and maybe I'm totally wrong. So you that are listening to me, just go on the internet and just see if this is
Yeah.
right. But I'm gonna tell it because it's what I'm living. Because
Absolutely.
here in my house, for example, it's my private life, but I have two doctors in my house, like my brother and my father, and
Oh
they
wow.
are living in the private system. And all my friends and all my specialization friends come from the public system. We were together in Rio. I worked in the Rio de Janeiro, in the favelas of Rio, and then I went to the south of Brazil. So I had this experience. And so it's very dual, like very opposite.
Right.
And also the politic system is exactly the same. So it's the doctor academic and the doctor thoughts, the medical thoughts, it's very divided from those who wants to help the public system and those who wants to those who understand how it's important to have this political and the system, because he may help the public system. It's not right, but maybe with him we have a chance to help those people.
So who
And
is him? Is that Lula?
it's Lula.
Okay, so you tend to be a little bit more liberal leaning as opposed to like conservative leaning.
I tend to be.
So your brother and your father are more conservative. I'm
Yeah.
picking
No,
up.
it's a
picking it
war
up.
about it. Yeah.
She looks defeated.
And I totally understand both sides. I'm very good at that.
Yeah.
This is what I do with my work and in doctor field and medical field. That I really understand both sides. I'm not against one or against the other one, but my reality was that for 4 years. So when I talk to my friends and I talk to them who are working with Indians in Amazonia or who are working with in the favelas, and I see their candidate, who are they gonna vote?
Right.
I tend to be more like them.
So tell us a little bit of your experience with dealing with arguably some of the most impoverished people on the planet.
My work there.
Yeah, like in the favela.
When you were working, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was hard. I worked there 1.5 years, but it was also the most incredible experience I ever had. Every time I come back to Rio, I come back there and I talk to my patients, and I got very lucky with everything that I lived there. It was hard. Like there was 3 times that I had to get out of the favela because there was people shooting, and we had to go like quickly, and it was very dangerous. So it shocked me a lot, but also give me life. I kind of love this kind of experience once I was there. But I couldn't handle more than 1.5 years. Then I left,
Right.
and I had to deal with my guilty of leaving it. It was hard for me to be in a perfect place in the south of Brazil that is a very European place and very polite. And then I was there, and all my patients was in Rio, and well, it's different, but also amazing.
So when you were there, did you have protection with you? Like you said that you were told to leave right away. Like how so is it like, so just paint a picture for us. Is it like a hospital that you're at, or is it like a tent? Is it, and
No.
are there guards with you to protect you, or like how does this work?
So in Rio, let me explain that, not to look like a forest or something. In Rio, we have like this family clinics, and it's the first contact of person to their health. So if I have a problem and I live in the favela and I have a headache or I have something bigger in my stomach or something dangerous, I'm gonna look for those doctors that are the family and community doctor, which I am. So we work in this clinic, in this family clinic.
Okay.
Which is not a hospital, not at all, but it's not a tent either. It's a clinic.
We have very similar. We call them family practices, where they
no, exactly. You're right. I forgot that you had the similar. It's exactly that. So we had that, and
we don't have people shooting at us though. That's the part. That's the difference that I was trying to figure out and explain to the profiteers out there that what you're talking about, because that's not something we experience in Canada. We don't like go to a family clinic and have our doctors be whisked away. That's not. So I was just trying to understand that a little bit more.
Okay, so once you're there, the whole favela respects you a lot because they know they need you, and there are rules that you start to understand, so you know how to respect them and how to respect the system. For example, we know that when the police are coming up, we know it's kind of dangerous, so we don't go up. We don't go at their houses in this day, and we know that it can be shooting change, like shooting
Gunfire. Okay, yeah.
gunfire.
So
So we know
you're
we
saying
This is
that
the police. Wait, yeah.
when the police arrive, that's when the problems happen?
yeah,
Not when the police arrive, everything calms down?
no,
That's very uniquely different.
Very different. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
because the police is not always good here,
Okay.
especially in the favela. So
Interesting.
not only in this. This is one example. There's also other example that we know we had to be on alert. But the gunfire was never to us, the
Okay.
doctors or the nurses.
Right.
But it was dangerous to be there. So sometimes it was like yellow flag and we had to go in this room. And sometimes it was red flag and we had to leave in fast.
So you were living in this area while you were practicing there, or were you
No.
transporting back and forth?
No, I lived like 30 minutes from there.
Gotcha. And it sounds like, again, the service that you provide for those individuals that live there, it's invaluable. Like if you were to, if that line of medical professional ceases to exist, that's likely why they're well protected, right? They understand how important it is. So we will protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. Now, obviously, I'm sure you've had some wild stories while being there, being shot at, not, the exception of the rule. But what does life look like for those individuals on a daily basis?
It's unique. It's so different. Like, for me, it was shocking, but also beautiful to know that they're just like us. So it's so different because they live there, and like there is this little street, and their houses there are very messy, and also there are a lot of people that just live like us, but they don't have enough money, so they have to live there. So there are all kind of people, and there are people there's a lot of people that have more mental disease because they're constantly in stress, gunfire, and all these stressing situations they're dealing with. So for sure, they have more disease than us, mental disease. What else can I tell you?
What do people do for work? What does that? Obviously,
there's a lot of commerce, like there are stores and there are like supermarket and there is like bars and there is like the whole town over there.
Right.
It's true. And some of them in Rio, like if you go into the famous one, the touristic one, like in Rocinha or Vidigal, there are these two ones that are like famous and touristic. Yeah. There are even like nightclubs and touristic nightclubs and bars that you can go and.
Is that weird? Like, is that weird that like part of your tourism industry is this like extreme poverty?
It is, right?
Like that seems so foreign to us.
And like, also, what gives me some I don't know how to handle that. I didn't give a name for this feeling, but what it's weird for me, there are people there. We're talking about people. We're talking about people like us. Yeah. So when we go there to like see the place and to see exactly what do you want to see. Yeah. So it's much more interesting, your kind of question, like, okay, how they live their lives. Is there a lot of difference, or is like us? So these kind of questions are amazing because I don't know if I can answer it properly, but I can try to answer. Wow, how was it? I can understand what I felt when I was there. This is nice. But
I think you're painting quite a picture. It kind of like so Pat, we do have something similar here. Like all of our tourism is run and taken care of, and the people who work are most impoverished people. They're the people that make minimum wage. Not everyone. Like I'm not generalizing, but there is a large part of people that are the waitresses and the people who run our hotels and stuff like that have to have assisted income or a lower rental where the government pays part of their rental, or they get help with their income and stuff like that. And that is our tourist industry. Meanwhile, the people who own the hotels and own the properties and own the land, and they're making millions because, you know, people come from other countries to come see, like in the place where we live, people come to fish and to do boating and stuff like that. So the hotels and the restaurants and stuff like that are making not too bad money before COVID.
It's a little bit different though, James, because so the
It's not the same. I'm just saying that there is that. We still step on the backs of impoverished people.
For sure. But in that area, like these are cities like almost carved out of the side of cliffs,
Right.
that are like, that's the tourism themselves, is this
Right.
impoverished.
You're coming to see that.
Like it's wild.
No.
And that's why I'm saying is that, like, okay, so I totally
Yeah.
get what you're saying is that, you know, these individuals that work really, really hard to provide in the tourism industry, but these individuals who live in these favelas are the tourism industry.
Our tourism industry.
Like that is uniquely different.
That's what you're saying. So it would be like so we have tent cities here, Gisela.
It would be like a bus of.
So we have homeless people that have no other option. They live in tent cities. And so they put up tents and they live in a parking lot. And there's probably, I don't know, we have one in Wolf Street. What would there be, 70 people there who live there now? I'm not 100% sure. I don't know enough about it. But it would, so what you're saying, it would be like a bus pulling up, getting out and taking pictures of that, and then getting back up. I misunderstood. Sorry.
Get on, get off.
Yeah.
And
that would be wild. Like I couldn't imagine being a person that had that happen to them. Like, having someone walk by my home, like out there taking pictures of it. Like, even though, you know, I'm not impoverished, but even that would be weird. So that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Especially like years before, like nowadays, I think it's changed a little bit because they're the ones that are famous, like Rocinha and Vidigal. There are people there that they are improving themselves because of tourists. So this is good. Like there are nightclubs. If you come to Brazil in Carnival, there is like 2 or 3 parties in the favelas, and they're huge and they're safe. And there is a lot of people, foreigners, people going there.
Right.
So that's kind of good for them. They improve themselves with the tourists. But
so how did you find the Olympics? Because we heard in North America, we heard really positive things, and then we heard like really, really negative wild things.
Some terrible things after.
Yeah. So what did that look like for a Brazilian in the Rio area at the time?
I wasn't there.
Oh, you got it in Dodge. You got it in town.
No, I wasn't there. But what I heard, it was the same as you, I think, because there are people that are criticizing a lot, and it's true. Like it's not only like to being the people that just want to criticize. No, they were right about what they're saying. It was awful. And also there were people that was like, oh my God, it was amazing. And I lived the dream over there. And it was so important to be like this. It was always also true. But those people didn't see the other side, I think, you know?
Sure.
No,
that happens most often is that, you know, even like I went to Havana in Cuba, and I went with a guide, and I saw all the great things in Havana, but there's also like not the great things in Havana that I didn't see because I'm a tourist and I have no idea what's going on behind the curtains. You know, like if I went to Brazil, I'm sure I wouldn't notice, you know, all the stuff that you would notice. It's just like if you came to Peterborough, you would see certain parts of Peterborough and go, wow, this is like such a luxurious, wonderful, great place. But Pat and I could take you to some spots that are like, no one wants to be there. Right. Like not even the people who live there. So it's always interesting that people see like they see what they want to see. Like definitely you would see what you want to see. If you're going to the Olympics, you don't want to see the negative. You don't want to see the impoverished, especially if you've worked your whole life to learn how to like swing on a pommel horse. Wow, that was hard for me to think of. have trouble thinking. But yeah, you don't want to see the negative of that. Like you just want to go, you want to compete, you want to do your thing. Or if you saved enough money to go to Rio, so it would be tough.
Yeah.
What now? Obviously, you've probably traveled a little bit in your life. Where do Brazilians go on vacation?
That's a good question.
Okay. Wow, that's so, I don't know actually, because Brazil is huge. So I lived in far different places in Brazil, and I can see, like, for example, the south, it's more like European, and they really love like Europe. And well, this is so general. Like I can maybe what I'm saying is like not true at all, but this is what I
No one's
felt.
gonna fact check. You're fine.
Because I was like, I'm gonna talk something like total general, like if there was a true on this. And
I told you at the start, this is like we're sitting at a bar, we're chatting, we're just having a good time.
Yeah.
No one's fact checking us. It does not matter. We're just learning about Brazil from a Brazilian. That's what's happening.
I could realize that in the South, we talked a lot about Europe, and we talk more about Europe, or sometimes about Argentina, because it's very close to Argentina. And in São Paulo,
where?
In the south of Brazil. Yeah. And
it's the accent. I lost you a little bit in the accent. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. And
sorry, finish. I apologize.
Go.
He's just excited.
No, yeah, because I think it's very cool. So you're in Sao Paulo. Is that where you are? Okay, so in the south, how far would it be to leave Brazil? Like, are we talking like driving distance? Like, Brazil is massive, and it encompasses jungle. It encompasses beautiful beaches. It encompasses every possible aspect. That's why I'm saying it's a little like Canada, for the fact that we have the Rocky Mountains, we have the coast to coast to coast. You can kind of experience everything. Canadians, we just run away from winter. That's what we do.
Absolutely.
But what the Brazilians do, you guys don't need to run away from winter. You just
maybe they run away from heat.
This is so crazy, because this is so I never thought about it, but once I lived in South for 1.5 years, we ran away from winter there. It's not snowing winter, like it's 30, I don't know, like 14 Celsius or 10 maximum, 5 maximum, but we don't like winter at all. We don't like winter at all. So in the South, they used to say, okay, so in the summer, I'm going to go to the north, or I'm going to go to São Paulo, and then I come back here in the summer again, because I don't want to spend winter here. We don't, no one likes winter, right?
That's so funny, because like at 14, 15 degrees, we're pulling out our shorts and t-shirts. Like
I know.
No, we're out in the sun with a beer on the beach at 14, loving it, and that's your winter.
I really hope someday I'm gonna feel like you guys, because for me it's awful, and I want to be stronger. I want to improve myself in the winter feeling. I want to be in the 30 degrees and like, okay, I'm cold. This is not cold, but I'm not this person yet.
Well, you're mind, body, spirit, and you'll get there eventually. So
today we had freezing rain, which was a lot of fun, because I was supposed to go run with my running club today, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Not while being pelted in the face with freezing ice rain.
No, not cold.
I'm not exactly sure what the temperature was, but it wasn't a great day to run. That's for sure.
It was minus.
Yeah.
It was minus. Prepared. This is something very bad in Brazil. Like in Canada or Europe or wherever you go, there is like real winter. Yeah. In their homes, it's not cold. Like you just put the heat, and then it's hot. But here in Brazil, we're not prepared. So we're cold all the time. We're cold inside our houses. We are cold in the shopping. We are cold like in the cafe and everywhere. Oh, this is
I think bringing that up, you talk to the individuals that live that kind of impoverished lifestyle, and it's funny. James and I have been kind of working with an organization here trying to provide housing for very poor, like these people that live in tents, and what that looks for. And for us, we look at it, we're sitting in our office here, everything's good. These guys are living in a tent tonight in minus 25 degree weather. That's wild. Yeah. But in all honesty, they're very prepared. They have a tent, they have all the things that they need, and they'll do it for months and months and months at a time. Now, you get a couple -degree days in Brazil, and I'm sure that's a very different story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and this is, well, it helped me to come back to my work and what you said, because this is exactly what happened. When we are not strong enough in our beliefs and in ourselves, we get slaves to our habits. And once you have like hot water to shower, you want hot water every day. And once you cannot have it, like, it's a mess. You get angry and you don't know how to deal with your feelings and your emotions. Like, oh my God, I don't have hot water. So you became a slave of it. You know?
So what do you say to people in that situation? So I have a beautiful 13-year-old daughter. And I always say to her that you are so fortunate that you're not fighting in a trench in the Ukraine. And she's like, I don't understand what that means. I'm like, you live here. This is beautiful. You have everything you want. It's a beautiful thing. But there are people that are suffering, really suffering, and we don't know that.
It's the birth lottery. It's where you're born. Like, it literally, I could have been born somewhere else and had a completely different life. You know, even in Canada, there are places that other families I could have been born to that my life would have been vastly different. But yeah, how do you, so someone who, like, I'm sure you've dealt with people who have lived a really hard life and they're resilient, and you can they have the endurance of the mighty Zeus. But then you have the other people that aren't so resilient. So how do you help them?
So when I was in Rio, I used to give yoga classes, and I used to teach them how to meditate. And I used to teach them how to dream on different things. Not the dream that I want, like, not the dream that I think it's important for them, because this is wrong. You know, when we say like, okay, they're living there, oh, this is so hard. Oh my God, poor them. No, stop this kind of thoughts right now. Like, you have to see them, that they're strong, and that maybe the better thing they want is to stay there and just have another thing, like another food. We don't know what they're dreaming of, you know. So this was important in the workshops I used to give them. So this is what I found to help more than the consultations, you know. When I was with a patient in my office, my office. Okay. So I just teach them. I teach the same thing. I teach them how to improve their mind. I teach them how to improve their emotions. And I was always empathetic with them. I was like saying, I know it's hard. I cannot even imagine how hard it is to live exactly how you're living and not having money to buy something else. And so, okay, let's find a solution. I don't know the solution. Let's find it together. And this was important in the consultation. And 1 month later, there was a solution that came, or some job interview, or I don't know, some beautiful thing that happened. And I don't know, this is what I love to do.
You're helping them through basically therapy, like counseling, to unlock goals, but not goals that you think, like, because I could easily go, well, you don't have a shelter. We're gonna work on getting you a shelter, but that may not be important to them. What may be important to them is, like you said, getting a job, or maybe their mom needs medicine, and that's what's important to them. I don't care where I'm living. I need to get my mom medicine. That's my goal.
It's so hard.
And what you want is, I don't care what you want. And you kind of like unlock that for them, and then go, okay, well, if that's what you want, how can you do that? Like, I don't know your situation. I'm not there. I'm not standing beside you. But what can we do? Where can we go from there? That's very interesting.
I had to learn that. I didn't know when I beginning. I started there very arrogant. Arrogant, this is the word.
Arrogant is a good word, yes.
Because I thought what was good for them. I thought, okay, damn, you know, there was this me and them. And I remember this patient, I would never forget her. She arrived in my office and she had leg pain, but a lot, like she couldn't walk. And she was like, it's paining. Oh, I had so much ache. Oh my God, you have to help me. But she had also her exam with her. And I was like, okay, sit here. Let's see your exam. Let's see your leg. I'm going to help you. And when I opened the thing and I saw her exam and I saw her diabetes exam, it was like, oh my God, in the top, like it was huge. It was very dangerous. And the only thing I could see was the diabetes. And I was like, oh my God. And I totally forgot about the leg pain. I was only seeing the number of the diabetes, and I was like, I have to treat this person. I have to treat this girl. She's gonna die in 1 month if I don't treat it. Like, it's not true, but I started like, oh my God, I have to treat the diabetes and blah blah blah. And then I started teaching her about diabetes, and I was teaching the consequences about diabetes and how it was very dangerous if you don't get this exam better. And then the next day, she was in the favela telling everyone that the doctor told her that she had the leg cut it off. She had to do that if she didn't eat well. And the doctor was awful because the only thing she did was to talk about the leg that she's gonna lost, and the pain that she was dealing with was still there.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about the diabetes. She doesn't care about the consequences because she has so much pain in her leg, and I couldn't see it. And she helped me a lot to improve my hearing, listening.
Totally. Yeah. No, when I first started working in like group homes and working with kids that had behavior problems and stuff like that, I was blinded to that too. Like I would decide what their problem was. I would just like talk to them and go, oh, I know why you're like always doing that. I know why you're throwing tables. It's because of this. And no, it has nothing to do with that because I haven't asked them what it is. You have to discover what it is for them. Like maybe I'm right. I'll probably be right like 5% of the time, but the other 95%, I'm going to be 100% wrong, and I'm making it worse because I'm just doing what everyone else they see does. Right. Where I'm just treating, I always call it treating the symptoms. I'm just treating the symptoms. I'm not treating the problem. I'm not treating the root problem because, like you said, when she came in, it's not exactly the same thing. But if someone comes in with a fever and a headache and their shoulder hurts and they have pins and needles in their arms, and you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to give you some Tylenol for your headache. You can leave now. Well, you haven't cured anything. You haven't solved anything. You just one symptom, and that's not going to help, right? So you got to, like you said, you have to look at the whole picture. And that's so interesting. I love what you do. We're over an hour now, and you are probably 1 o'clock in the morning in Brazil because you're talking to us from the.
Oh, that's true. Midnight. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep you any longer because I'm sure you have tomorrow's Friday. So I'm sure you're going to have some more people to see and cure and take care of. Gisela, you're a delight. It has been wonderful talking to you, learning about Brazil and learning about what it's like to be there and how different it is. It is complete. There are so many differences from here to there, but I have noticed slowly, like the doctor that I have has more of a holistic approach. Not exactly what you do, like but coming closer, looking at other options, not just looking at the quick, here's a pill to solve your problem. There's other options for us, and they're starting to talk about that. They're starting to they're starting to not hop on antibiotics, for example, every time you get sick. Well, there's other things. You can use neti pots, and you can use cold compresses, and like they talk about those other old cures that we had when we were kids. And I hope that we get to this more holistic approach where we talk about food and your feelings and thoughts and emotions. And I think what you're doing is wonderful, Gisela. And so we end here. And what we do is I'll say goodbye. And then I have a little saying at the end that I always say. It's just like a couple of words. And then Pat will say his ending, and then he has a little saying. It can be inspirational. It can be poetic. It can be anything you want. But we all end on that. So I will go, then Pat will go, and then it'll be your turn. You'll be on the hot seat, and it can be like 1 word, 10 words, 2 words, whatever you want, inspirational or not. But you have some time. So thank you very much, profiteers out there, for joining us. I think it is so exciting that we're all the way in Brazil talking to the wonderful Gisela. The reach of the internet surprises me and shocks me. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Portugal. So I'm hoping that I can reach some people there and like get some interviews there. I'm pretty excited about that. I don't think I can speak the language, so hopefully some people will speak English. Anyway, as always, profiteers out there, thank you for coming in, tuning in Thursday Night Live. Next Thursday, we'll have someone else, and it'll be just as amazing. And I'd like to thank the wonderful, talented Gisela, who keeps saying to us that it's hard for her to speak English, but yet she knows 2 languages. I know none. And through her English, you can tell that she's more brilliant than I could ever. Like, the stuff that she was struggling to say was still smarter than the stuff that I easily say. So Gisela, don't worry. This was a beautiful interview, and you're a beautiful person. And thank you for everything you've done for the people in Brazil, but also for the information that you've given us. Hopefully the people that are watching can see the holistic approach is important, and they'll go start seeking it, because I think it's important too. And profiteers out there, let's heal our minds, bodies, and souls together.
Doctor, again, thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic interview. Very interesting to see the dichotomy, the difference between systems, but also, kind of like the human similarities that you can kind of drop us anywhere in the world. And at the end of the day, we do kind of just have that human nature that blossoms and uniquely is just human. So I thank you for joining us. Folks, quick little snippet of what we were talking about earlier today with some of the stock market, some of the finance stuff that I was chatting with you guys about. Check us out over the next little week. There's lots of stuff coming down right now. The stock market is kind of in a weird free fallish move. We're Dr. Morandi, I do a lot of the finance and kind of personal wealth and advisory stuff that way. James is a little bit more touchy-feely, but the world is going to hell in a handbasket here financially. So that's what we're trying to help people save a lot of money and prepare better for it. So those of you out there, I think this week at some point, I'm hoping to do kind of an analysis of investments on, what people should be looking at in 2023, where to be able to move your money into safely, securely, and be prepared for what's next, because I don't think it's going to be a good thing. So as always, folks, let's make some money together. And Dr. Morandi, this is where we stick you with the final word, my dear.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, James. Thank you, Patrick. It was a pleasure to be here. And well, I think I just wanted to leave this message that don't judge yourself, don't judge the others, and say yes for everything that you were struggling, the frustrations and the hard time and the inconvenient things that we are struggling with. The first thing to handle everything, the disease, and the time that you're now is saying yes and accepting what it is.
Perfect.